Hi, everybody. We're going to talk about citizenship prep and what you could do as a tutor to help your student during this time, even at a distance. There's lots we can do. If you recall, the citizenship test has 4 parts. There's a reading, a writing, a speaking, the interview part, and then the last part is the civics questions. A lot of this stuff the students can do on their own, of course. There's lots of apps and lots of websites that I will show you on our resource page that they can work on by themselves. But there's a lot that we could do together too. And I feel like in this time of distance, we need to build community where we can. So I'm going to be talking about different formats of how you can tutor and then the ways to cover those 4 areas when you're tutoring. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about speaking. Speaking is the hardest part of the citizenship test. As we know, the interview is all in English, unless you're one of those lucky few that have been a resident for 20 years and are over 65. So, not most of you. Otherwise, you have to take the test in English, and this is the hardest part. This is the part that most people don't pass the test because of this part, and it's always the most stressful part. And it's the part that everybody wants to practice the least. So, we can use this time to practice it a lot more. One of the biggest things on the citizenship test is that they go through your application with you. So one of the a good thing you could do with your student now is to practice going through the application. One of the resources that I'll show you later on our webpage has the website where you can find what the actual application looks like, the N400. So you can just ask those questions. This can be done on the phone. This can be done face to face in a video conferencing. It can even be done by text. Ask a question and have them write back the answer. Just to kind of practice the vocabulary and practice what's going on with that. You can say, like, how many times have you been married? And then they ask you. There's also an interview, like an interview practice kit kind of that's on our resource page that I'll show you. You can just ask those questions as you go through. It can be done in any medium. Another thing that really gets, so they need to know the vocabulary of the application. So there are a lot of N400 activities on our resource page that I'll show you later that you can kind of practice through. There's a lot of online stuff as well if you have access to that. There's also the other thing that really trips people up is the have you ever questions. So we're not focusing on practicing present perfect or like working on the structure necessarily. I think if you're an ESL teacher and that is what you're working on, that's fine. But for the citizenship test, we're just trying to get through the test. So they ask you a lot of have you ever questions. Have you ever been to jail? Have you ever deserted the army? Have you ever been married to more than one person at the same time? Those kinds of questions. They ask you, have you ever? So practicing have you ever and do you questions that are on the test to make sure that we have the right answers there. And then to make sure if you hear, make sure they're not memorizing. No. Yeah, there's 25 no's and then 6 yeses. No. You need to make sure they're listening to the question. So have you ever questions could be answered yes, I have, yes, no, no, I haven't, no, I have never, no, never, no, I have never been to prison. Those kinds of questions. Practice varying the answers. So this can be done on the phone. This can be done on text. This could be done through email. This could be done face to face. Varying those answers to make sure that we have a different answer every time. It shows that we have a little bit more English, even if we don't. But it shows that we have a little bit more grasp on the language so that we're not just saying no, 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 yes, 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 yes. Right. And same with do you. So like, do you accept, do you understand why you are here today? Why do you want to be an American citizen? Do you accept the Constitution and the form of government of the United States? Those questions, making sure that the answer is yes or no, hopefully yes, yes, and then yes, I do accept the Constitution and the form of government, yes, varying the ending so that we have a little bit more variety. Again, phone, text, email, online video chat. All of that works for that. So practicing that, ideally you could have some kind of sound involved where you can talk and they can listen and respond, and you can practice checking the vocabulary and pronunciation and things like that. But worst comes to worst, you can still do it in text. We're still getting access to the vocabulary and practicing answering the question. So I think however you're able to communicate with your participant, I think that would be the best way. So for the interview question, I'll show you in the next part of the video. I'll show you where our resources are on our resource page, where also you found this video and where you can find the rest of the videos that I'll be posting. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of online stuff, but also a list of have you ever questions. You could just practice have you ever to have a conversation. You can practice the actual application. You can practice the list. So there's lots of opportunities for speaking in this situation. Next, let's talk about writing. So the writing part of the citizenship test is actually pretty simple, and a lot of my students, even when they're lower level English learners, they think it's pretty easy. It's one sentence you have to write correctly. You get 3 tries, and the sentences are pretty simple. In the list of resources that I have on our website that I'll show you later, you can see the list of a list of potential sentences that they could get. So in case you don't already know, the citizenship questions are not given out, but they give us the vocabulary. So the people that wrote the books have pieced together all the possible sentences that could be on the test, added with experience. So while they might be slightly different, these are the things they're practicing. So with writing, you have a nice opportunity to get really strict with punctuation, capitalization, spelling. Although secretly, they're much more flexible on the exam than we think they are. I remember doing an example where we were supposed to raise their hand if we thought they passed, and I did not raise my hand because there was spelling and the words were in the wrong order, and they said, oh no, it passes, they have the right content. So I actually don't understand the criteria for the sentences, so I take this opportunity to be very, very strict in class so that when they get to the exam, it's very, very easy. And then they can just pass it and move on and focus more on the interview part. So you can see the list of questions. I recommend dictation for these. Again, you can do this by phone. This one would be a little bit harder in text, but it might be something where you could create a video message. A video message or a voice message that you can send them through the text message. WhatsApp is perfect for that. Sending a little video of yourself reading the sentences. Then they need to write them, and they can text it back to you. That could be a way that would work, where they could, it's not live, but they could listen to your recording. You could read a bunch of sentences. You can record yourself reading a bunch of sentences and then send it to them, and they could practice writing them down for you, and you could correct them that way. That could be something you could do through email, or even through, like I said, WhatsApp or text. That would be pretty great. And just be really strict about punctuation, periods, comma, D, capital D, period, capital C, period, Washington, D.C., Washington, comma, those things. While they might not actually be as strict on the test, let's just get into it now so it's very clear. Remind them they have 3 tries to do this, and try to give them the harder ones. The full list of sentences are on the resource page that I'll show you later. All right, let's talk about reading. Reading is really similar to writing. There's a list of sentences. They're all questions for some reason. That list is again on our resource page, and they just need to read them. So that's something you could do. Again, WhatsApp, video, phone, email, all of this could happen. If you're able to, now it's the opposite of writing. If they're able to make a voice memo to read the list, and then you can go down and follow and let them know if they passed it or not. That could be some way. Again, if you're face-to-face, that's easy. You could just read the sentence. Then you could point to a sentence and they could write it down, or you could type it out and they could read that back to you. Very easy if you're face-to-face. The only thing that might be challenging in WhatsApp if they're not able to make a video message, but that is a tutorial I will be giving out. So if you feel like they're able to, maybe you could watch it and really explain it to them if they want. So that could be something about how to make videos on your computer, or how to make them on their phone and then send them through text or WhatsApp. So yeah, last but not least, 100 civics questions. The 100 questions is everybody's favorite part of the test. They all memorize it within the first 2 weeks of class. So they're probably already practicing those right now. It's really easy to get people to practice those. They don't like to do the English, they don't like to do reading or writing, but they really like the 100 questions. So you probably won't have much trouble getting them to do that. This is something they could easily do on their own. If they haven't already, encourage your students to make their own flashcards. The resources for all of the questions and answers are again on our resource page. So if they don't have the answers and questions, you could send that to them. You could do it face to face where you just read the questions and they answer. You could type the question in and they could type back the answer. That could be for text. That would work in email, text, chat, anything like that. And just practicing the answers and making sure the answers are correct. In that case, you wouldn't have to really worry about punctuation or spelling, but if you're able to have any audio in your tutoring, it might be good to practice pronunciation, especially when pronunciation is not a problem unless it confuses the meaning of the answer. So if you're noticing that they're saying Martin Luther King, but it's not clear enough, then it might not be acceptable. So make sure that they have the answers if you're able to do any audio corrections to kind of check in and see if their pronunciation is affecting their answers. But again, this is a super easy one to get them to do. They're probably doing it right now, but it's good to check in. It's always nice. Again, they get 10 chances with these questions and they have to get 6 correct. So if you want to practice that structure of asking 6, and if they get all 6 correct, then you're done. You can go through all of them. There's directions on our resource page on how to have like a full-on interview from start to finish. So if you're able to do video or even on the phone, you could do these things and you can practice. This is not ideal, of course, but we can continue to practice and support our participants where they are and where we are. Okay, so I talked a lot about resources that we had on our website, so I just wanted to show you what we have going on here. So this is just litworks.org, our regular website. On the very front page, we have this banner and it says you can go to training videos and resources. So just click that. And then it will show you this. In order to access so here's all the videos that you've probably already seen. And then down here, we have some resources that are available. So when you click here, we have citizenship materials and citizenship resources. If we look at the resources, it's going to ask you to sign up. You just have to create a free account, and then your name will be up here, and then you can also get to resources this way. But in the meantime, you can just go from the home page. So once we click in here, we look at the resources. You can see we definitely have information. The National Immigration Justice Center is here, top priority. If your students are asking you any legal questions, definitely refer to them. There are some online games and information here. Kahoot is an example of a game you could play with your student. They could play alone. There's a lot of games and things like that are here. If your student has access to the internet or even a smartphone, they can get on these websites. iCivic has a lot of lesson plans if you want to work that way. But some of the things that I mentioned in the video is kind of talking about things you can do with your students right now, even if you have limited access to technology. So this mock interview videos and activities are really good. It shows you some practice for the interview, the N400. Here's a lot of information about that application. There's also up here, this website is really great. It has the kind of the things I have in the materials packet that I'll show you next. A lot of those questions I was saying, you could go through the N400, you could ask questions, and then and here's some other activities. Have you ever questions if you just want to have a conversation about practicing the have you ever present perfect structure. You can work on these. There's a big long list of questions. There's some flashcard games. You can even practice making a zine together. It might be something fun to do as an activity. There's the zine I made for my last workshop. This template is here, so feel free to use that. So that is available. And then you can also look at materials. And this is 32 pages of things that I scanned. So there's like the scoring guideline you could go over. There is how to have a mock citizenship interview. So um, it is, there's all the steps on how to have an interview and all the pieces that you need. Even it shows you the equipment that you need. A clipboard, you don't really need all of that if you're just doing it over the phone and things. But here are all those questions. Just go through from start to finish this whole interview, and you can practice every question. And it's a way to practice English. You could 100% do this on the phone. You can do this through texting. You could do this on WhatsApp. You can definitely do it on video chat. You can do all of these things. So that's a big long list. It has a part where you ask the 100 questions, where you do the reading and writing. So here are all the reading questions, and here are all the writing questions. It's listed again in this packet. These are all the 100 questions. If they haven't already, they can make flashcards. Can start to practice all of those questions are there. Let's get a little lower. There's a lot of questions. And then here's some vocabulary for the N400, some of those hard words that they're going to be asked about. So it might just be a great time to make some vocabulary flashcards. You can kind of work through those together. That's an option. These are the hardest words. And then here at the bottom, these are the words for the writing vocabulary. And these are the writing sentences. So these are all the sentences that you could do. And this is what I'm talking about. You could make a voice memo of yourself reading all these sentences and have them write them as it's dictated to them. That's a way that you can do that. And again, the reading vocabulary and then the reading questions. So this could be something that maybe they're able to make a voice memo and read these things to you, and then you could correct them. So those are the resources we have here on our resource page, but we also have more videos and things like that. I recommend checking out those the websites on the resource list, and if you have more information, please feel free to share. So that's it for citizenship tutoring prep. Let me know if there was something that I didn't get to that you really want to know about. You can leave us a comment or you could email me. My email will be at the end of this video. Let me know what you are doing, what's working and what's not working. If you have some new ideas that I didn't include, please feel free to share. The latest news is that USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, are closed, as everything else is too, which means that any appointments they had are also postponed. I don't know what that means for future appointments, but we'll just focus on what we can do now, and we can practice and be prepared for whenever it does open and appointments are taking again. So you can share that information with your participants if they're worried about their employment. Also, just to mention that ICE has been suspended until further notice. So if that's something that your participants are worried about, even if they're becoming a citizen, they're fine. But I know it's like a very stressful time for everyone. So do help them to feel supported in going to the grocery store if they need to, or whatever they need to do. I mean, we're all in lockdown, but if they need to do something to feel safe, we are here with you. I am at home, not feeling super healthy, but I hope that you are very healthy and safe where you are. And we will talk soon. I'll see you in the next video.